we are now in open season to talk about whatever stuff we want, and it looks like it's going crazy in the comment section. Yeah, this stream is sponsored by Lucozade. Actually, maybe I should get Lucozade to sponsor me. That would be good. Okay. Do you have some improvising tips? So, as good a place to start as any. Improvising, making stuff up on the spot. I'm going to get my guitar because I feel naked without it. But it's really important that you realise that most of the time, most improvisers are playing things that they played before. Okay? So, there are very few guys that just play completely off the cuff. In fact, there's so very few of them. Most things are kind of not learned and rehearsed like a set solo, but you learn licks, which you could say would be like words. So when you're improvising, you're putting the words in a new order or telling a new story. So as I'm talking to you now, I'm not using any words that are new words for me. They're all words that I've been using for some time, but I can put them together lots of different ways to talk about lots of different things. So when you're improvising, you're taking some of those things and trying to put them together in an interesting way, I guess, is how I think about it. And it's very likely that I will put things together in a way that I've never put them together before. Okay? And sometimes I'll find things that are completely new that are like a happy accident, but they're usually some sort of variation on something that I've done before. So that's kind of that's the most important bit. Excuse me. I think of learning to improvise is learning to explore ideas that you already know, to try and find cool new things. Could you give some advice about transcribing chord progressions, especially if there is no guitar in the song? That's a good question. So transcribing chord progressions, there's a few different approaches to doing it. Because I've been doing it for some time, I tend to be able to hear the whole arrangement of the song. And if I'm transcribing Adele, for example, that new Adele song was mostly piano, but I could kind of hear the harmonies and find them fairly quickly. But if I was struggling at any point, I start off by listening to the bass notes. So I often would, and I definitely remember doing this when I was learning to transcribe in my teens. I'd be just playing along with just playing the bottom note. So I'd be going, just trying to find the bass notes for the songs while I'm playing along with the recordings, and trying to just figure it out that way. Because once you've got a bass note, usually you can hear if it's supposed to be major or minor. Right? So you go like, and then you play a minor chord and then a major chord. Because minor and major are pretty different sounding, right? So if you then listen to the minor chord and listen to the major chord, you can probably tell which one's which. So that would be a good way of starting the process of transcribing chords, is find the bass note and then try the major and the minor chord for each one along with the song. Again, I've got a transcribing course on the website. If you go and check that out, this gives you loads of tips. And there's even a song tip series where I give you real life songs to go and listen to, and I give you a few tips and say, these are the 5 chords, you figure out what order they're in, that kind of thing, which funnily enough I'm going to be doing for the Motorhead stuff. I've been recording a bunch of Motorhead tribute things, but what I found was a lot of that stuff is, I remember transcribing Motorhead a lot when I was a teenager. I really loved them, and I think that's a lot where I learned about using pentatonic scales as well, because a lot of the solos are just pentatonic scales off the root of the chord kind of thing. It's fairly easy to do. So if you're getting into transcribing, you can't go wrong with getting like the Ace of Spades or whatever and trying to work out those songs completely by yourself. I think that would be a really, really, really good idea for any of you guys that are learning guitar, would be to be transcribing stuff yourself. You're not going to go wrong with Motorhead as being a good starting point for it. It's mostly just power chords, so if you find that bass note, you don't even have to worry if it's major or minor. It's just going to be a power chord. So do that, and then have a go at working out some of the simpler solos as well. You know, some are going to get a bit fast. Eddie Clarke, man, he was fast, right? Clues in the name, right? But there's a lot of the solos that aren't that crazy fast that you should try and have a go at. I would recommend anyway. So how am I liking the Sir? I'm really liking the Sir, actually. I've got two Sir guitars, a modern, which is a Guthrie spec kind of rock guitar, which that guitar lives at my home, and that's the one I kind of noodle on if I'm watching telly. It's a really nice guitar to play, very low action, slinky. I didn't like the fact that the neck wobbles around a lot when the temperature changes, so I definitely wouldn't ever tour with that. And I got this one. I've got quite a few, 3 or 4 Strats, and I love them all dearly. I wanted one Strat with a humbucker in it, and I didn't want to spoil any of the Strats that I had by modding it up. So I got this one for that because it's kind of a bridging kind of a rock thing, and I really like it. It feels the neck feels lovely, and it's got a really interesting split humbucker and middle pickup. Is a really, really interesting out of phase tone on that particular guitar. I really liked it, and it was different to all of the other Sirs that they had in the store. As generally, I try to go to stores to try guitars out before I buy them if I can. You know, I don't all the time, but. What do I think of Frank Zappa? I love Frank Zappa, and that's a funny question because I was just talking to Mike Dawes, the incredible acoustic guitar player who came around to my house earlier this week, and he didn't know much Frank Zappa, and I got the album out. I think it's called Them or Us, with Frogs with Dirty Little Lips and Stevie Spanking when Steve Vai was in Frank Zappa's band. Wicked record. I hadn't listened to Frank for a long time, but really loved it. Oh yeah, we've got Govan here. We've got Guthrie's sister is in. How you doing? Hev? Okay. Good old Bob Ross. That's funny. A few people say I'm the Bob Ross of guitar, which is quite an amusing analogy. Anyway, okay. How important is learning the cycle of fifths and note names? Is it only necessary if you want to learn to improvise? Okay, so cycle of fifths. I never really got why people preach about the cycle of fifths so much, right? It is. There are certain things it's useful for. A lot of people say practice their scales in the cycle of fifths, but I don't think that's a good idea, or the cycle of fourths for that matter, because the difference between notes, if you move between scales or keys, if you move a fourth or a fifth, is usually only one note. So if we go G to C or C to G, there's only one note difference between C major and G major, and that's the note F sharp, which is changed for the scale of G. So if I wanted to practice scales, I'd rather practice where they're all different, all the notes are different rather than just one note. So I'd be more likely to play C major and then E flat major, like minor thirds apart is a good distance to get lots of different notes. So yeah, it's kind of useful if you want to learn about resolutions, like going 5-1. If you know your cycle of fifths, you always know what the 5 chord is going to a 1 chord. So it's kind of useful for that. But I never really got it. I was joking about the joke about Guthrie's sister. It's a joke. She's just underneath your comment there, dude. Anyway. Who are some great jazz guitar players that I love? Okay, jazz guitar players I love. My favoritist jazz guitar player of all time is Joe Pass. I love Joe Pass's guitar playing. It's just totally inspiring, and I just think he was the bee's knees. Love Joe Pass. Johnny Smith is my other favorite jazz guitar player. I've been working out a lot of Johnny Smith tunes just lately. That's kind of my own personal study. I don't feel like I've got that stuff together enough to be sharing it with you guys yet, but when I'm still trying to practice and improve myself as a guitar player, and when I'm working on that, I'm mostly working on kind of jazz tunes, and lately it's been Johnny Smith kind of things. Who else do I really love? John Scofield is a very different to those two, but a very modern jazz guitar player that I really like. Wes Montgomery is an incredible jazz guitar player that I really like. Jim Hall, how could I have forgotten Jim Hall? Jim Hall's another one of my most favouriteest guitar players. Any of you guys that are getting into maybe looking at a bit of jazz, there's a fantastic album. It's by Sonny Rollins called The Bridge, and Jim Hall plays guitar on that record, and it's an outstanding record. It's really, really seriously incredible. So you definitely, if you're not familiar with that record, I highly recommend Sonny Rollins' The Bridge, if you want to hear some incredible jazz guitar. Really love the new Bowie record too. That's a jazz band on the new Bowie record. That's exactly up. You know, a lot of people ask me about what sort of music I like. Well, that new Bowie record is exactly the sort of thing I like. You know, and of course listen to my band as well. If you're not familiar with my band, I've got a band called We Came as Strangers, which is kind of, I guess, trip hop. You know, I love blues and I love jazz and all that sort of stuff, but I also love being creative and trying to find some new stuff. And I think trip hop and the feeling that I have in my band is, you know, it's a happy place for us all to go exploring, because it's you know, some of my best friends and we just get together and make a noise. It's cool. How many guitars do I have? A lot of guitars, but I don't know exactly how many. More than 20, less than 100. I'm not sure where it lies between that. Some jazz seems to play chords out of key, but my teacher tells me that he's playing within the cycle of fifths using 2-5-1 progression. What are your thoughts? Oh, okay. So 2-5-1 chord progression is a very commonly used chord progression in jazz. Sounds like this. Okay, very, very common. If you're into, what's a good example? Can't remember what it's called. What's it called? Anyone who can name that song? Is it called Tune Up by Miles Davis? Really good song, which is a sequence of 2-5-1s in D major, then C major, B flat, then I think it finishes in D. I'm starting to doubt myself now whether that's the right final 2-5. But anyway, the thing that happens in a 2-5, and the reason it's so cool and gets used in jazz and in other styles as well, is this same concept. So even if you're not a jazzer, you might find this interesting, is that you get a lot of tension in a 5 chord, where 5 chords are a dominant 7th chord. So like this G7 has this sound. Okay? D minor is a lot more stable. The C major, again, a lot more stable. G7, you can hear it's got that tension, and it's pulling to that. It's pulling to the C. G7 is pulling to the C. So what you get in a 2-5-1 is peace, tension, and then resolution. And what happens in jazz is that you exaggerate the tension. So instead of just playing G7, you might play G7 sharp 5. Okay, very dissonant chord. And what that gives you is this idea of having, you know, a peaceful sound, tension, and then back to another resolution. And harmonically, just gets, you know, it's just gone really tense. Again, tension, resolution, tension. I've even put a wonky bass note on there and it's made it even more tense. Wasn't intentional, but anyway. And then back to C major again. So you can hear that it's moving. And then that happens in lead lines as well. So when you're playing solos over the 5 chord, you would tend to put this, you know, some sort of tension, something that sounds a bit weird. So you go from this nice peaceful, so it's gone really out here, D, and then on the G, and then finishing nice again on the C. So that's what 2-5s are. Again, loads of lessons. If you check out the jazz section of my site, there's a series on 2-5 and how to go about doing that. blues. Okay, how should I incorporating chord tones into my solos? So, okay, that's a good question. So, as you're learning guitar, there's a couple of different approaches. You can either go down the major scale route or the minor pentatonic route. The minor pentatonic thing, you tend to learn licks, blues licks and stuff like that, and you use the one scale over a whole thing. So if you were playing a blues in A, you would be playing the A minor pentatonic, say, for the, or the A blues scale or whatever, for the whole chord sequence. But the bit that really separates the men from the boys is when you start to play off of the chords instead of off of the key, the whole song, and playing in the one key. And so what I was just doing there over that 2-5-1, I was playing over a D minor, G7, C. So I'm really thinking about the key changes. But that happens in a blues too. So if you've got an A to a D, A, D, A, D, A, D, back to A, back to D, A, D, A. So you can start to hear that particular example. I was just really targeting this one note, the C sharp, which if you play a regular A chord, if you do this out, you play your regular A chord, look where your second finger is. It's on the note C sharp, right? And then on a D chord, or a D7 chord specifically, okay, you got this note C. So if you're playing the C sharp note on the A chord, and then the C note on the D chord, that's how you get that. It's a really, really tasty little chord change, and that's one of those key things that the guys that I like, the blues guitar players that I really like your Larry Carlton, Robin Ford, and you know, that kind of guitar player, they make the changes. So they're playing off of an individual chord rather than a just playing one scale over a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. What do I think of the new Foo Fighters EP? I'm embarrassed to say I haven't heard the new Foo Fighters EP, but I didn't know there was one, but I will go and check it out immediately after this stream because I love the Foo Fighters. Okay, how do you find the key of the song and the chords when someone is playing with a capo? Okay, finding the key of the song and the chords. To find the there's a couple of different approaches to finding the key of a song, regardless of the capo. The capo is a different question. In fact, if you type capo into the search box on my site, I've done a few lessons lately on using a capo that you'll probably find interesting, that I would suggest you check out and I'll probably answer your question. But finding the key of the song, you need to know what the notes are in a key. And then once you know what the notes are in a key or in a major scale, when I'm talking about a key, I'm talking about a group of notes that belong to the major scale. And then you learn what the chords are that you can make with those notes from the major scale. And that gives you the chords in the key. So in the key of G, for example, you've got the chords G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp, half diminished, and back to G again. So using a mixture of any of those chords, you're staying in the key of G, and you would improvise a solo using a G major scale over any or all of those chords. Okay, that's like making it as brief as I possibly can. So once you know what the chords are in a key, you can kind of once you know the chords in the key, you know the key that you're in, of course. But where that can be helpful is for improvising, but as well it gives you an idea if you figured out a couple of the chords and you think you're in a certain key, you know what the other chords that are likely to occur are. So if I'm playing a song and I play a G and then a D, I figure out off the record that it's a G chord and then a D chord. I know that very, very likely the other chords are going to be C, A minor, maybe a B minor, and there are certain other chords called secondary dominants, which I don't want to go into now because it's going to get too complicated, but there are other chords that you might commonly see as well, but that's where it's going to be at. Is this going to be a regular thing? Yes. I'm planning on doing this every week, every single week. I'm going to try anyway, and if it's popular, and there's enough people that are digging it and enjoying it and watching it after I film it, and you guys are all emailing me and letting me know that it was really good fun and you enjoyed it, I'll keep it. I'm giving up my Saturday night when I could be at the pub with my buddies having a few pints. Instead, I'm here with you guys. That's how much you guys mean to me, right? So, but the same call, if there's only like 2 or 3 of you there, I'd rather just invite you to the pub rather than you know, doing the stream. So yeah, assuming that there's a lot of people enjoying it, then I'll keep doing it for as long as I possibly can. I've got a few commitments later in the year that I'm not going to be able to do it all the time, but yeah, I'm going to try. So, talk about fingerstyle. Fingerstyle. Lots of people saying just fingerstyle. What? I'm not sure what you mean about talking about fingerstyle. Okay, sorry, got a flood of questions again. I love this and we'll tune in every week. Thank you, Justin. You're very welcome, Sean. How important is learning note names? I've been playing a few years and completely overlooked it. Lol. The thing that you get about learning the note names is the ability to move ideas around on the fingerboard and clearly see what it is that you're doing. So what's a good example? We'll say like a little lick like this, where you're going this first. If I instantly look at that and I go, oh, I'm playing an E and a G, I can go, oh, there's an E and a G. Or I can go, oh, where's another one? Oh, there's an E. Where's a G there? Okay, we'll see if I can find another one. An E and a G. So straight away I've been able to expand on my little idea. So that's the kind of thing that note knowledge gives you, is the ability to look at a little... If you learn something, you can kind of expand on it, which I think is a really cool thing. It also lets you understand what it is that you're doing. That if you're playing the BB Blues box and you go... something, you go... Oh, I'm bending up to the C sharp. Oh, that's that note Justin was saying before. Makes it on the A. Okay, oh, I'm bending up to a C sharp, then going D, D sharp, E. So actually... So, you know, I'm able to build on, again, building a little idea out of it. So I think learning the notes on the fingerboard's a really, really good idea. Okay, do some stuff. The Smiths. I should. I haven't done any Smiths stuff, but no. Oh, he's persistent. Smiths fan. He is. Any tips on picking your first electric guitar? We talked about that a little bit earlier. So go back and watch the stream earlier, and you'll hear some stuff on that. Can you do normal scales with double stops? Oh, that's an answer. Yes, you can do normal scales with or with 2 notes. I love Hendrix, but I can't play with my thumb over the bottom. Any ideas how to play without this? Yeah. So the big Hendrix thing was playing this. So I can play, there's a regular A bar chord. I can play all of that using my thumb to play the bass note. My 3rd finger is actually playing 2 notes on the 5th and 4th string. 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, and then 1st finger. So again, it's the same, right? So the reason Hendrix did that was to free up little finger, okay, to be able to do these little embellishments. You hear it a lot in like Chili Peppers stuff as well. Shanny's a big, obviously a big Hendrix fan. So, but if you can't stretch over with the thumb playing the bass note, just play the thinnest part. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to get the thumb over thing, you know. That was his style. It was really good fun. What's the fastest way to learn all the notes on the fingerboard? Should I just sit down and memorize them? You'll find sitting down and memorizing them very difficult. If you check out my practical music theory book, there's a whole 4 or 5 different exercises in that will help you learn the notes all over the fingerboard. Songbook question: any plans to complete first version of book with lessons? Looking forward for Pearl Jam's Black. Funnily enough, I did actually do a lesson for Pearl Jam for Black, but the vocal was so horrible that I wouldn't release it. So it's gone down the ether. In fact, a lot of the songs from the first songbook, the reason they didn't keep going was because the vocals were so horrible, which, as you can imagine, they must have been pretty horrible, because some of the ones I did release had pretty rough vocals, right? But there were some really, really obnoxious sounding attempts at destroying these songs. But one of the things that I've had a lot of decisions over the festive period. I always spend a lot of time thinking about things in around Christmas, New Year, and making plans. And one of the things was that I'm going to, all of those ones that I didn't do because I can't sing, I'm just going to do them without the singing because I don't want to just really embarrass myself. I've got Selena coming in to do a bunch of the girly vocal songs again, and then I'm going to do as many of the songs, both not just from the beginner songbook, but from the rock songbook and the pop songbook and the acoustic songbook. I'm going to go through and do as many of those songs as I can this year. I've got a lot planned this year, and the next couple of months I'm going to be working on this big project, which I'm hoping to release by the end of February. I think it's wicked. The few people I've shown it to so far, I've had some really good vibes on. Yeah, so that's my next big thing. But then I will be working on songs before the end of that project as well. What are the chances of some more Pink Floyd lessons? Well, I think I just answered that. I will be doing some. Could you do In My Life? I've already done it. Sloppiness. I never seem to play the blues lick. Bends G 7th fret, then 5th fret on the B string. It never sounds fluent like the good players. If a lick's not working right for you, then you need to just practice it really, practice it slowly and try and figure out what's wrong. A really good little hint for you is to try and be an observer of your mistakes. So when you're practicing, if you can't do something, rather than panicking and trying to fix it, try to make the mistake, and then be a casual observer watching yourself make the mistake. Right, so if you always got a note that's buzzing when you play a scale, or the pick direction's changing and you're not ending up in the right place when you're doing your alternate pick in, or whatever the mistake is, usually technical stuff. But if you've got that mistake happening, you play the lick and you've got this thing and it doesn't sound right, try and play it and try not to think about making it right. Just try and watch what it is that you're doing and see if you can see something obvious that doesn't look right. And then see if you can fix that. Try and make it good. If you can, the text has gone far off the screen now to attempt to decipher what the lick was that you meant. But maybe find a video of Eric Clapton or somebody playing that lick, if it's that style of, see if you can find a video of somebody playing that lick and then watch how they're doing it. Okay, do some more jazz lessons, please. There will be some more coming up. Will there be a new blues lead course? There is. In fact, it's just fallen on the floor. But right here is the new blues lead course. All of the stuff's done. All of the tabs, the sheet music. I've got loads of it's all. Can't even see it. It's all done nicely. I've got the whole thing ready to go. I've had a few technical issues here in the room. As some of you will know, I had to move studio from this place that was really, really terrible, called Metropolis. Screw it. I had a terrible time there. The room was awful and badly looked after and noisy, and just it had a really bad time there. The guys are nice and stuff, but it was a horrible experience and very expensive. But anyway, I'm in a new studio, and the studio itself is great, but I've got a mix engineer. So behind my room there's another recording studio, and he's a professional sound mixer, a very famous guy, has done lots of really big records, really nice guy as well. But he's a bit noisy, and it comes through into my room. So when I'm playing, I'm getting a bit of noise problems from his room. So that's restricted how much time I've had to record. And to add to that, I've got a problem. There's a railway behind the studio, and the electric voltage coming from the railway track affects amplifiers. It comes into the pickups of the guitar and makes a noise. And I didn't want to record while with this problem. It was up. You know, I don't like recording stuff that's subpar really. So I've been waiting to try and fix that, and I think I've found a fix for it, which is using a humbucking pickup seems to fix stuff. And I'm using this thing called a Kemper Profiler at the moment, which is like along the lines of the Line 6 kind of amp modelling, but a lot better, in my humble opinion. So I'm using that as to feed through, and that seems to be working. So I'm hoping that I'll be getting the Blues League course for you very, very soon. What's the story behind my tattoo? I'm not sure which one. The broken arrow, this one, the one that everyone thinks is a mushroom. Where is it? How do I show you that? It's broken arrow. That's a symbol of peace. You know, all of the, and it's also the name of Neil Young's ranch. I'm a huge Neil Young fan. And this one is the one that looks like a scribble, is a wiring schematic from a 1959 Fender Bassman, which is my favourite guitar amplifier. My cat is safely off the roof as well, yes. Can you do some more arpeggio lessons? Yes, that is on the plan, definitely. Bye bye, Mr. Close to You. Okay, so I'm guessing Close was leaving. What was that there? I couldn't see. Gotta go now, Keith. See you later. Okay, thanks, Rich. I'll speak to you soon. Could you make a studio series lesson? What would I put in a studio series? Do I have any lessons on reading music? No, but I've just finished writing a book, which will be out probably in the next couple of months, about reading dots, if you want to get on doing that. Any tips on writing a solo? I don't really get into writing a solo, but I tend to improvise them, so I don't tend to write them. I know Brian May writes solos, and he's one of the best ever, so you know, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Yes, I know loads of the other YouTube teachers. In fact, I've got interviews with a lot of them for my podcast. I just have it. Editing the podcasts takes ages because the podcasts are so long. I have to listen through the audio in real time, and it takes forever to edit, go through, edit it, listen to it, put it in the right order, make it sound good, and then listen through it again to make sure it's all right, then export it and listen through it. It just takes ages. But yeah, obviously many of you will know that me and Marty are friends. He lives obviously in America and I live in England, so I don't see him all the time, but he's a good buddy, great guitar player, great teacher, really good guy. Like Marty a lot. I'm sure we'd be good buddies if we lived nearer to each other. I know Matt Warnock a bit just through interviewing him for the podcast, and my Guitar Sage guy, Eric, really nice guy. I know him too. Yeah, I know Pete Thorne. Pete Thorne's definitely, if you're into gear, man, you definitely need to know Pete Thorne. Lovely, lovely guy, Pete Thorne. Great guitar player. Some of the best guitar tones I ever heard. You know, when I want to buy new gear, I go and watch Pete's channel and see what new gear Pete's got, and then I try and get some. He's really good. Consider doing a songwriting with guitar lesson. Okay, I don't know what that question is. Could you cover a Campolongo song? Yeah, I should do. Well, I need to ask Jim really, because I know Jim a little bit, and I'm a huge fan of his guitar playing. He's a fantastic, he's definitely in my top 10 favourite guitar players of all time, Jim Campolongo. I really, really like Jim Campolongo's playing. And I transcribed a few of his songs. I did his version of When You Wish Upon a Star, and another one called Pretty Ugly. Awful Pretty Awful. I can't remember which way around it is. Which has got beautiful licks in it. And I was going to do a lesson, but then I can't remember why I didn't. But I need to check with him and make sure he's cool with that, because I know he sells lessons and stuff. I don't want to upset him. What's happened to Marty? Marty's got some stuff going on that I can't talk about, but I'm sure he will let you all know in due course. I know he's got some really cool stuff in the works planned for you guys, and he'll be back really soon. And we all miss him in the online guitar community. He's a great guy, and you know, I speak to him fairly regularly, and you know, he'll be back soon. I can't say anything more than that. It's really complicated and just a really crappy situation. And but he'll be back really soon with loads of good stuff. Rob Chapman, yes, Monkey Lord, yeah, I know. Rob was a student of mine, I think, when I was teaching at the Guitar Institute. He was, I don't remember. I remember him, and I've met him a few times out. Met him at NAMM again last year, I think, and I don't remember him being a student, but apparently he was a student of mine in a class. Or maybe he was just a student at the Guitar Institute while I was a teacher there. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, nice guy, good guitar player. I like it, quite funny. What do I think about Lindsey Buckingham? Oh, fantastic guitar player. Lindsey Buckingham's one of the greatest that ever lived. You know, the Fleetwood Mac stuff, just superb. How do I stay so motivated? Okay, that was the question that we had. So, I mean, motivation's a really funny thing, man. You know, I've played guitar for a long time, and I get bored of it too. There are definitely times where I can't be bothered playing guitar. You know, I'm not interested. Often I pine for it when I can't. So if I'm in a situation where I can't, like I've got loads of stuff to do, I've got a book to finish, or I've got a lot of stuff to do with the website, or I'm away on holidays or something, I often really want it. I can't wait to get back to playing guitar. And then sometimes I have time, you know, on the weekend or whatever, and I don't feel like playing guitar all the time. But when I've got stuff to do, I'm good at getting stuff done, okay? And I really rate the idea of having a practice routine and trying to tick off stuff. That's how it works for me. So I usually have a practice routine. Right now, I'm actually between routines unusually because I haven't got around to writing one for this year to fit all of my goals. So I do all of that stuff like in my effective practice series. If you wanted to go and check that out, if you're worried about what to practice and keeping motivated, I think that the effective practice series is all about that, you know. So over Christmas and New Year, I made a bunch of goals for this year, like the playing in the band thing, and I wanted to start doing some solo gigs, playing jazz guitar as well, and I've got a little list of stuff that I've got to do. So the next stage for me will then be working out what are the things that I need to practice to be able to achieve those goals, right? So, for example, the jazz one, I want to do some solo jazz guitar gigs so I can go out and do like a 45-minute set or longer, just playing by myself jazz songs. So I need to learn chord melodies, I need to learn to improvise on my own. Okay, if I'm going to learn to do that, what do I need to do that? Well, I need to listen to guys who do that really well. So I'm going to be listening to Joe Pass and Jim Hall and Martin Taylor and those kind of guys, and stealing their licks and trying to copy their ideas, trying to make them my own a little bit as well. It's going to mean studying, it's going to mean transcribing, it's going to mean learning standards, memorizing standards. There's a whole bunch of things that are going to be related to that. Improvising as well, developing my lick library, if you like, you know, the catalogue of licks that I've got access to when I'm improvising. So I need to make a list of all of those things, and then I'll figure it out, and I'll make a little schedule for myself. So probably, I imagine it'll be between half an hour and 45 minutes a day of kind of practice, and then maybe another 45 minutes to an hour of transcribing. That's kind of a couple of hours a day for me is my... If I can get a couple of hours practice a day, I'm really happy. I don't normally get that much. It's normally about an hour, but if I can get a couple of hours, that's what I'm going to be aiming for this year. So, yeah, I think that you'll find that the effective practice series will probably help you a lot with that, because I think it's all about having goals to set and then figuring out the right way to get to them. Because if you really want to get, as long as you think about where you really want to go, then it helps with the motivation to get there. If you've worked out the path that if I practice these things, I'm going to get here successfully and it's going to be fun, then it's kind of a nice thing, I think, for me. It's kind of how I think about it anyway. Can I play Spanish guitar? I can play a little bit of Spanish guitar. I did some of, well, did most of a classical music degree, so I can play classical guitar. Well, I could play classical guitar quite well, but never flamenco. I've always been rubbish at flamenco. I love the sound of it, but I'm hopeless at playing it. Any advice on building better solos or improvising to fit a tune? I end up playing the same cliches. Yeah, I mean, if you're tired of the same cliches, try learning some new licks and try and outlaw the other ones. So one of the things that I practice regularly is blues, and I just put on backing tracks, usually from my own backing tracks, the Jam Blues series, and I put on a backing track usually the first 5-minute session, I just play and I don't care what I play. The second one, I try and play again for 5 whole minutes, which is a long time to do a solo, and I don't let myself do any of my pet licks. Right? If I find myself playing one, I give myself a good curse and a slap on the back of the head, you know. So I'm trying not to play any of my little favourite licks that I play all the time. And sometimes I make notes of licks that I really like that I haven't played in a long time, and I deliberately try and play those just to kind of free things up. You know, when I'm playing for real, I definitely don't write pages of licks to think about, right? I think that's rubbish, you know. I'm looking for it to be deeper than that, but you still have to train yourself to find those sounds, and I find that that's a helpful way of doing it. That's, you know, to force myself into doing some new stuff. Why do I wear a hat? Well, I'm not sure why I started wearing a hat, but I guess that, you know, I'm losing my hair. I've still got, I do still have hair. See, there's plenty of hair still there, but it's, you know, it's like the Pink Floyd song, you know, there is no hope, you are receding. And I figured that wearing a hat kind of future-proofs me a little bit, and I'll look like I'm aging less if I keep the hat on. There you go. There's an honest answer if you ever got one. Okay, are you familiar with Richie Havens? I like him a lot. What are you doing? Are you bidding on my hat? Okay, where is Jedi? Jedi is in New Zealand. He's on holidays. What's the best way to organise a group jam with players of varying skills? Ooh, I don't know the answer to that. That's too big a question. The 10,000 hour thing. The 10,000 hour thing is a really probably true. I will have clocked 10,000 hours several times. I imagine. I don't know. I did like 10 hours practice a day for quite a long time, quite 5 years or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I never calculated how many hours I did, but can I do some of Tommy's stuff? I can. I can play 3 or 4 Tommy Emmanuel songs. I haven't practiced them lately for quite a while, so I'm reluctant to try and play it now because I think I'd just end up looking a bit stupid. Okay, what do I think of Buckethead? Not very much. I mean, he's a great guitar player, but I don't know much about him. The idea of the trio, I'd like to get together a trio to write and play, and then play out, playing both covers that I really like, everything from Jimi Hendrix to Chick Corea and Fusion, and you know, Jeff Beck and that kind of stuff, as well as doing my own material I've been writing for a guitar record for a little while, and I'd like to try some of those songs out in a trio format and maybe record. And I guess because of the internet thing, I quite often get offers of doing like tour supports for quite good name guitar players. So and I haven't been able to do it at the moment because I've just not had a band and haven't been playing out. So I didn't have anything. I couldn't say yes because I didn't have anything to go and play. So I'm trying to put together a trio to make that happen. Basically, to have somewhere that, you know, as well as doing this sort of thing every, you know, once a week. I'd love it if if any of you guys are in London, you knew that you could come and see me at this particular club every Thursday night or whatever, and I'd be playing. And that's kind of what I'd like to be able to do is playing, you know, playing out. Amy Winehouse tutorial, please. Yeah, any of you guys watched that Amy Winehouse film last night? Incredible! What a life she had. Drugs completely screwed her up, man. Such a shame, because she is an incredible singer, incredible talent, just pissed away because of drugs. It's really, you know, kids don't ever go near crack or heroin. It's the dumbest stuff. Just completely screw your life up. Don't any of you guys, young guys, listen. Just don't ever go there. You know, I've got dead friends from heroin. It's stupid. So. Yeah, I nearly started swearing there, but just, yeah, stay away from that stuff. But yes, I should do some Amy Winehouse, because the guitar playing it's lovely as well. When's your next solo album, Love Small Tones? Well, thank you very much. I think the trio will be the next kind of solo album, but it'll be in a trio format. Any tips on getting really good overdrive tone? I struggle to know how to get a good tone. Tone is a never-ending quest. Yeah, I mean, getting a valve amp is the first step, and I think that if you get just a simple valve amplifier and a guitar, and really try and explore your tone just from that combination before you start putting pedals and stuff involved, is a really good idea. Just really keep it simple and try and get because if you get a decent valve amp and a decent guitar, you should be able to get a good tone out of it, A lot of it's here, And it's amazing how many times I mean other people, either I play their gear and I can't sound like them, or they play their gear and they can't sound, get the same sound as me. It's just different, And so a lot of it's in the hands, and I think it's important to get that over that bit first and try and develop a good sound. One thing that actually I'll share with you that influenced me a lot on that front was there was a video like a video cassette, VHS cassette, that I got by Eric Johnson called Total Electric Guitar. I guess it was the 90s or whatever when I saw it, and he talked about this thing called positive finger placement, which is what he does to get a good tone. And I spent, I don't know, months and months and months mucking around with my guitar amp and my guitar, just experimenting with how to put my finger on the fingerboard to get a different sound, because I could hear that when he moved his finger around, it sounded better sometimes than others, and I could hear it myself too. And I think in that journey I learned a lot about tone, making my hand sound good, and it's not something conscious that I can teach you. It's just like the pressure and where it's on the fret, and I don't know exactly how, but I definitely think my tone improved in that time I was studying that. So get there first, and then maybe try out some distortion pedals and stuff, and see, just try a few and see what's up. Can I make more apps? I have another app almost finished, which is a blues licks app, all of my blues licks series, but with animated fretboard and stuff like that. That one will be out very soon, and there's a bunch more in the works, so hopefully that should happen very soon. Wouldn't fight a duck-sized Brian May. I'd keep him because he's poor. Well, it doesn't make any sense. Any exercises we can do when we don't have a guitar to hand? Not exercises physically, but if you've not got a guitar, some of the exercises, or one of the ones I used to do, well, a couple. In fact, I've got a lesson on things to practice when you haven't got your guitar. I think in the effective practice series, but stuff like interval ear training. So practicing singing between your different notes and going do 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 do, that's a perfect fourth, and do do, that's a fifth, do do. Singing the different intervals is a good thing. Picturing the guitar neck in your mind and imagining you're at the 6th fret on the thicker string, and then going, oh, that's a B flat note, and then an E flat note, and then an A flat note, then a D flat note, and then an F, and then a B flat. So like trying to build a mental map of the fingerboard, I think is a good idea. No, I don't want to sell my Malcolm Gretsch ever. My apps are only for iPhone. There's one app I have for Android, and it is a complete nightmare and always causing me problems. Costs me too much money to update, and it doesn't make any money. So I might even pull that app soon, or just make it free and just say don't email me for support, please, because it's just going to be a nightmare. 3 or 4 people asking me, am I rich? Well, I mean, relatively, I guess. I'm definitely not a millionaire. But I've got a nice car, and I've got loads of guitars, and I live in a nice part of London, so I guess that I'm kind of rich. It depends on really what you compare it to. I don't feel particularly rich, but I'm definitely not poor. I'm not struggling to make a living or anything like that. How are guitar prices in London? Not as good as America. If you want to buy a guitar, then I would definitely go to America. What's this? There's so many people asking the same question, or is it just 2 people asking the same? It's the same people asking the same question over again. Get over yourself, Gianni. It's so silly. Anyway, how are you transcribing songs so well? You have perfect pitch. No, I definitely don't have perfect pitch. I've just been doing it a long time. I started transcribing songs when I was 10 years old off a record player. I used to learn Rolling Stone songs I can't remember exactly the whole story, but I remember my dad telling me to learn. I wanted a sheet music book or a guitar lesson or something, and my old man said, just, well, no, you can listen to it, just listen to it and then figure it out, kind of thing. Like, that was normal. He's not a musician, but it was exactly the best advice that he could have given me, because I wasn't scared that maybe I wouldn't be able to work stuff out off records. So, you know, I worked out stuff wrong when I was a kid. You know, I remember learning Money for Nothing and going like, you know, you know, and I know that's not how it's played, and it's a lot more complicated than that now. And, you know, and the reason I still haven't done a lesson on that song is because I still don't feel like I've got it right. I kind of know what it is, and I've tabbed it out as accurately as I can, but there's something about the way he uses his thumb that I haven't nailed yet, and I'm not going to do a lesson on it unless it's absolutely right. There's loads of people that have done dodgy lessons on it. Well, not dodgy, but lessons on it that aren't quite right, and I'm not going to add to that. So anyway, do a guitar giveaway. No, you do a guitar giveaway. Can I teach us dueling banjos? No. Whatever. Try just playing that by yourself. See if you can drum it up from wherever that comes from. Is it possible to increase the stretch of your hand so you can reach more frets? Yes. There is an exercise on my website called the finger stretching exercise, funnily enough. Whey! Who would have thought that? It took me ages to come up with a name for that exercise. Go and check it out. It's simple, but it totally works. Any plans for US shows for the forthcoming trio? Possibly. Let's get the trio sorted out first. I almost certainly won't be in the States for the next 6 months or so. You're my idol, Justin. Love your vids. Thank you, Andreas. That's very kind. Playing guitar helps so much when I suffer from anxiety and depression. Yeah, me too. Any lesson on whammy bar use? Not really. I don't have whammy bars on many guitars. Where am I from? I live in London, but I grew up in Tasmania, which is in Australia. So it's really difficult to read and talk at the same time. Any thoughts on a Fender Jazzmaster? I know you have a Jaguar. I do have a Jaguar. Don't know much about Jazzmasters, I'm afraid. This is like the fastest questions ever. Only got 5 minutes left. What year is my 335? Is 19... I can't remember. 77 maybe? Or is it 67? No, I don't think it's 60s. That'd be too valuable. It's 70 something. 77. Will there be other podcasts? Yes, I've got a load of stuff recorded, and I really feel bad for the guys that I interviewed. I've got a bunch of interviews to come up with the podcast. It just takes ages, and I've got so much stuff on at the moment. Who was my teacher? I've had lots of different teachers over the years. Most influential was a guy called John McMillan in Tasmania. He was my teacher when I was studying classical guitar. He taught me all about harmony and practice routines and stuff. Very, very great teacher. Really a lot of respect for John, but I've had many over the years. Do I know any Chet Atkins? I have learned a couple. I'm trying to think of what they call Maybell. I think I learned, and another one. Favorite song? Unknown Legend, Neil Young. Any Gary Moore lessons? Not coming up immediately, but I'm a fan, so I might do some more at some point. Ska, the specials. I don't know much about ska music. I always feel a bit of an imposter when I go near ska music and reggae. I don't know why. It doesn't naturally gel with me the way some other music does. So I should do some. My birthday, 27th of March, although Wikipedia seems to have it wrong, and I don't know why, and they won't change it, but whatever. Is there any reason not to max out the channel volume on an amp that also has a master volume? No reason for that. I mean, you don't want to pump your amp over the top so it blows the speakers up, but you'll get a lot of distortion if you crank the volume up but keep the master volume down. Can I play Mr. Sandman? No, no. but I should, because that's very, very cool. Do the Rainbow theme tune. I don't know the Rainbow theme tune, I'm afraid. Any neoclassical guitar lessons coming up? Afraid not. That's not really my bag, I'm afraid. Okay, will you do some Hank Williams songs? I should. I might do. I haven't got any straight away. Guitar lessons in other tunings. Yeah, I've got one coming up soon, a couple of months' time. There's Bohemian Like You, which is in open G, if that's what you mean. Do you still take lessons yourself? No, I don't. I mean, I very occasionally go and see friends that can help me out with stuff, but I don't generally have a teacher, no. Can you get Mark Knopfler to make an interview? I'm trying, but Mark's very busy. But yeah, I'm hoping this year I'll hook up with Mark Knopfler, because he's a lovely guy, and you know, I've been to see him a bunch of times. He's invited me to his gigs, and I'm friends with Richard, who's his plays rhythm guitar in his band. I guess he's just busy, and well, I'm hoping to, yeah. Okay, we've only got a few minutes left, my friends. So, you're going to resurrect transcribing course. It's amazing. Yes, funnily enough, the transcribing course I was working on today, one of the new updates. Yes, I can do Little Wing. There's a video lesson where I think I pretty much nailed it. I'm not going to try and play it now, but yeah, there's a video lesson and a performance of me playing Little Wing. Steely Dan, I've got one Steely Dan lesson, which is the beginning of Asia. The little riff played by Larry Carlton's great. I love Steely Dan. In fact, I haven't listened to them for ages, but do you get sponsored to play different guitars? Well, I mean, I don't get sponsored. Nobody pays me to play a particular guitar. I buy all of my guitars and all of my amps. I'm just trying to think so I don't make a liar of myself, but I don't generally get guitars or amps for free. I get, you know, some accessories and stuff. No, I get a few amps. I have had a few amps and stuff for free, but none of the ones that I play regularly. I still have to buy my maintenance. I get special. What I get is artist price often. So if I want something, I'll ring up a manufacturer and say, hey, I'd like this and this and this. Can you loan me one, or will you give me a special price on one? And they're usually nice to me because they want me to play their stuff, you know, and for you guys to see me playing their things. But mostly I play stuff that, well, not mostly. I always play stuff I like. I'm not interested in advertising some rubbish. You know, I won't ever do that to you guys. I'm not going to sell you some stuff that I don't like or try and play things. It's just not worth it. You know, I'd rather buy a guitar than get given one and then be indebted to somebody to plug something I didn't like. That would suck. What new artist do you respect most in the industry? My favourite artist at the moment is Courtney Barnett. Really big fan of hers. I actually tried to get a couple of her songs in the new songbook, the new Beginner Songbook 2 that just came out. But her publisher refused me permission to put her songs in my book, which was very disappointing. So I think she's an incredible talent, really great guitar player, wonderful songwriter, and I love the songs, and I'd been really digging it. And well, I was disappointed that the publisher refused for no reason. Well, the reason they said is because they weren't going to get an advance, but my publisher would have paid their publisher an advance, so they just didn't ask, they just refused. Anyway, what amp did you use on your AC/DC lessons? I used a Marshall Plexi, JMP 50, and a Malcolm Gretsch, so I was using exactly the right gear, which is probably why I think it got pretty good sound, pretty close sound anyway. I like to think I got pretty close with those AC/DC songs. The only problem with them is that the tuning on the guitar was being a bit naughty, and I kept tuning up during the lessons, and I think by the end of the 5 or 6 that I recorded in a row, the guitar was a bit out of tune. But hopefully no one was cross about that. Okay, I'm afraid we've hit that time, guys, where I'm going to have to call it quits for today, because it's Saturday night, and my lovely missus is cooking at home, and I have to go home, and if I'm too late then I'll get in trouble. So look, thank you so much, you all, for coming along. I really appreciate it. Big thanks to Close to You, who's gone away, and DJ. Thank you very much, dude. That's yeah. Not that we got the moderation thing actually working, but you know, big thanks to the moderators. Thank you all for coming. It's a real pleasure to see you. Good to see some old faces as well. I'm really sorry that I can't read every comment there, but if I'm trying to answer something, I'm just not, you know, I don't have the smarts for talking about one thing and reading about something else, because I just can't. My brain's not big enough for that one. So look, I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you liked it, please tell your friends, and please come back next week. I'm going to try and run this thing for a month, and if it's popular and gaining popularity and you guys are all really digging it, then I'll try and keep it all going. Do go and check out the website as well. There's a whole forum dedicated to the live stream, so if you can't make one but you've got some questions that you want asking, then I'm going to link it there. And of course this is going to be recorded as well, so if you want to check stuff up again later, I might even find somebody who's going to be kind enough to write down the times of what happened at what point in the videos. So look, thank you so much everyone. I really appreciate your support, and have yourselves an awesome 2016. It's going to rock for all of us, so you take care of yourselves. Bye bye.